Welcome to Flock Talk, the ultimate jam band community podcast where the grooves are endless and the vibes are infectious. This is Nikki, and today, in honor of Mother's Day and Mental Health Awareness Month, this episode, the Femme Flock talks to Lisa Borden, aka Ryan's mom, about wellness, how to navigate within our community under that scope as a mother of three, entrepreneur for over 30 years, and overall badass. So let's take a listen.
Hi, everyone. Today we're talking to Lisa Borden. We're going to have a conversation about her experience with music and her family, and then a little bit about her work and wellness and stress and how we stay sane in this crazy, crazy world. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? About your family?
I'm a proud third generation Toronto, Ontario, Canada citizen who spends a lot of time outside of Canada, now traveling for music and spending lots of time in the winter in Mexico because I do not like it. I have three children who are 23, 21, and 16. You know one of them well. And I'm married to my summer camp sweetheart. We've known each other since we were 7 years old, and we've been together for, it will be 33 years this summer. I've had my own business since 1994, which is, I guess, 30 years this year that I've been doing the same but different things. I call myself at this point, I don't really like titles at all. I usually use a long list of titles because I don't like being pigeonholed in one way, but I do call myself an efficiency engineer. Even whether that comes to business development consulting or human development consulting, which really, you talk about wellness, is I believe that I've coined a term called wellness intelligence, which incorporates everything from physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, environmental, financial, social, and intellectual, and just keeping them, that they're all connected. And that's my shortest introduction. You're going to have to ask me questions to get the rest out.
That's fair.
What an introduction. I feel like we have so many things we want to talk to you about. So I guess we'll start with a little bit like, what role does music play in your life and in your family's life?
Oh, we need like a whole episode just for that one for sure. I love music. I love all kinds of music. I also love silence, which is unique in my family of five because they do not like silence. So if my family is not arguing over which music to listen to, we are listening to music. So when I'm on my own, I actually work in silence. When I'm driving and I'm by myself, I don't listen to music. And when I turn on music, it's usually, if I'm choosing, it's usually frequency or meditation, not actually what you would think for me being a guest on this show. However, I am like adjacent, a huge jam band fan because it's what I'm, as I said, I've been married to my husband for a long time. We've been together for a long time, and he is a huge jam band fan. So, when you have a relationship with someone who likes it, you try and like it. And I tried, and I did not enjoy it. I went to my first Fish show in 1993 with him, and I was like, that was really interesting, perfectly fine. I'm done. You go to shows and I'm not going to be there. But so for years, he went on his own. He was happy that he got to go, and I was happy that I didn't have to go. But we do listen. Music is always on. We have it, whether it's in the kitchen or whether it's being played by my husband and Ryan and Andy, or some combination thereof. My daughter is actually, that people don't necessarily know in this community, that I have a daughter, because she does not like jam bands at all. She does really not. So people are like, you have a daughter? And I'm like, I do. I mean, she's actually musical as well, and she used to play, but she doesn't like Fish. And because they were always playing Fish or The Dead, she retired and exited very quickly to the point where she would like, you can play, but I'm going to my room. So we have a mix of all kinds of music going on in this house.
So you don't go to shows anymore?
oh no, now I go to shows. You want to know how I got back into that? That's the mother component. And now, of course, when Ryan's listening to this, he's going to be disappointed that I can't remember the dates because he knows all of my stats for everything.
Of course he does.
When he was 11 years, when he was 11 years,
Disappointed if he didn't.
yeah. When he was 11, my husband, I'm still convinced, used him to be like, I have to go to Fish in Cleveland, which is only around a 4-hour drive from Toronto. He's like, I have to take Ryan to his first show. Like, he loves Fish. And it's true. Ryan's my oldest. He always cataloged everything. Like, if you think he sits down and memorizes, he's like inclined to know this stuff. He loves it. He loved it. Anyway, so they convinced me that this was a really important thing. I was like, okay, you can take Ryan alone, my oldest, my baby, to this Fish show that I retired from.
Yeah, you know what goes on there.
Exactly. So they went on this road trip, and Ryan had a sign, which some people have seen, where he was like, an 11-year-old wants Fish to play Cavern or something like that. And I got pictures all along the way, and it was great. And Rob came home, and I was like, I need to know everything. I want to know everything, right? It was like my first kid. You're so excited that your kid's excited. And I was also happy that I wasn't there, but I wanted to know. My husband's like, it was great. And I saw so-and-so and so-and-so, and saw a friend of ours that we went to summer camp with. He was so wasted, he couldn't find his seat. So I helped him find his seat. And I was like, where was Ryan when you were doing this? Right? He looks at me and he says, oh, don't worry. He was at his seat. I said, he was at his seat, like by himself at a Fish show. And Ryan, if you've seen pictures of him, he could have been like 7-year-old size. Like, he was like a small kid. I was like, you left my baby at seat. And Rob said so innocently, he's like, everybody's so nice at a Fish show. Like, there's nothing to worry about. Everyone's nice at a Fish show. And I was thinking, that's it. I'm going back to Fish shows. Like, if you guys are doing this, I'm coming. I'm going to be in charge of snacks, hydration, and making sure that people don't go too close to my kid. And that's really how I started. That's why I started going back. It was in the days where you could take a backpack in.
Yeah.
They weren't so strict. So I had like a mom bag full of like snacks and exchange of like different layers of clothes. I was like the protective. And then I paused. I was like, they're the happiest. They're so happy. And the joy factor was enough that like their joy was my joy. And then you look around and you're like, everybody's really fucking happy here. And everybody's saying it doesn't happen elsewhere. Like, it's not a thing. And then I started being into like even bridging wellness with how you feel in that situation. And collective effervescence, and just that idea of being all together and focused on one thing for joy. Like, isn't that what the world needs more of? So that's what sort of carried me. And that's why when people make fun of me or message Ryan and harass him for his crazy mother taking videos of him, I take the video, like, not to make something share on Twitter. I'm like, this is my joy. The same way somebody else posts a sports car or ever, it's like, can't we share more happy things? And so I love the music. I love the music for how it makes me feel because of how they feel. And then I, again, don't know my stats. I'm sorry, Ryan, who's listening, but I mean, last year, I think I went to 12 or 15 goose shows and probably the same Fish, and the best time. I would do it all over again. I love it.
Yeah, we met at Fort Collins at Goose. Yes,
Yeah.
so we met in person finally.
On night 3, that was the beginning
night 3.
Beginning of a 6-month road trip for us.
Yeah, that's exciting. It's so much fun. I love that story. Love that story so much.
I feel like collective effervescence is such an accurate term. Like, I'm thinking back to like just even at the Cap recently, or even at Goosemas, like everyone is just so excited to be there, and it's bubbling, and the energy is just like, you can feel it. It's palpable. And And that's how I feel. And I'm excited about it because everyone else is excited about it. And it's just like one big, I want to call it a party, but it's just like a happiness bubble.
It's our happy place. That's where we go to find our joy no matter what. I don't care what's going on in life. We go to a show, oh my gosh. Everything stops and you're feeling good, you're happy. I don't care what's happening physically or mentally with you. It really does bring you back up. It fills your cup.
And it's interesting too, because, for you guys who are part of the community, so you know people. So I know that through Ryan because he knows people. But I really felt as somebody who came back into it and I wasn't part of that community and scene, that I still could feel that energy and appreciate it. So you
Absolutely.
can go in and not know the music, but if you pay attention to what's happening around you, not just on stage, but that whole feeling, it's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely is, which is why I think people bring more people into the community and they're like, oh, I got to keep doing that. That was fun. That felt really good. I
Or
want to do that
people
more.
try, right? Or people try to bring more
Yeah.
people into the community and they're like, that's not. There's that meme that goes around what's like what fish music sounds like to
Oh,
people who don't like fish,
yeah, that's my favorite.
right? Exactly. But that's the thing, that you can find joy through other things. I've brought Megan and Ryan on actually in my community to a conversation to discuss collective effervescence, because I'm more like adjacent to that. Like I appreciate that energy so much, but I can't tell you the set list from a show
Right.
or evaluate the music, right? In that way. But I so appreciate people like Megan and Ryan who can talk about the music aspect, which I'm tone deaf and just love a good song.
That's me too.
Okay,
I
good.
come from the same world. I just want to dance. I want to have fun. I want to be with my friends. And these shows are like give me that platform to do that, like with my favorite people. And it's introduced me to all my favorite people. Kara and Nikki met through this community, and I talk to them every day now. And it's really changed my life, just not being like super tied to the music. Well, I am, but not in the same way that like Orion is, or like so many people who like really care about every note in every song. For me, it's just like the feeling and the atmosphere.
Community. One of the lines that I use, it's a hashtag that I use. It's something that all my clients and the members of my community talk about all the time, is I say nonstop, better together, right? In a world that is trying to polarize and divide us so much, anything that brings us together is such a gift. And I just think, thank you, Goose. Thank you. Do you know what I mean? To these bands that actually really do bring people together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of the shows you've been to, what's your favorite band to see live? And it doesn't have to be jam band.
Well, it is. I mean, it's just between Fish and Goose. More for, again, I have a specific show. Again, sorry, Ryan. I don't remember the year, but it was in Chicago. And it was the five of us. We convinced Ryan to go to a Taylor Swift concert for
Oh,
my daughter Joey's birthday. Yeah, I could like give you that story now. He was not so happy. He was
I'm
not.
sure he had fun.
Yeah.
it's a
And
similar community though. That's what I appreciate is that it's a similar,
you think,
very much so. My daughter's a Swiftie and she listens to the secret songs like every night that she plays and it's the same feeling, the same kind of get behind your band, defend your band type of thing. It's the same you love them, so I love you type of thing.
And even
Sharing
like
bracelets,
the bracelet exchange, I make bracelets and give them to people at shows.
shirts. I mean, it's
I'm going to challenge that, because I observe, because my daughter is a fan as well. Swiftie,
Mhm.
maybe not, I don't know. But I feel like the venues are so big and it's such a performance that I don't feel that energy. And the thing that I've learned, again, this is just me. I'm like observant, right? Like I'm just observing. I'm not actually any of these things in that way. And Ryan's taught me so much just by being with him. And I realized that the improvisation that comes from being at a jam band watching is part of this incredible joy that happens that doesn't happen at a Taylor Swift or at a scripted thing. I also think that the community, first of all, it's not the same size venue. So you are guaranteed to bump into people in the bathroom at any
every time.
Right?
Every
But
time.
it's also there's set break. And set break, having those two sets and it being so much longer is different. And I also feel like, bless the community, it's all privileged to be able to go to any live music. However, we can go to like 5 shows, shows for one Taylor Swift show. So I believe there's more supply and demand. Like, so people are more excited about Taylor Swift sometimes because it's like this one-time special event. But how many people are going to 12, like following Taylor Swift to 12 cities? That like, you have to be like a bazillionaire, and right? It's not common.
No, not at all.
So I feel like the tour aspect, which again, I'd never done, but I went on tour with Ryan for Goose last year. And I have to tell you, it was like 2 of the best weeks of my life. Like I had this time with Ryan. We spent time like hiking and in nature every day. And how many kids in their 20s? I certainly, when I was in my 20s, wouldn't have been doing that with my parents. So I feel like blessed as a mom and grateful to have had that experience and to watch Ryan, just the hugs and the love within the community and how he's so happy there. That's my joy. So, and then the music and then the guys in the band being like really good humans that you get to know really, really matters. It really matters.
Oh yeah. The community is so tight knit and we all talk constantly because of Twitter and social media that like we feel like we know the band. And I mean some of us like know them or adjacent to them, but even if you're not, it feels like you know them. It feels like they're our best friends. We feel like we know everything they're thinking and like, oh, Rick's playing this because of this reason and look at the way he's looking at Peter or Trevor and like I don't know. It's just it adds to the community for sure. I feel very invested in their lives.
And I think they spend a lot of time thinking about what they do. I mean, and look at the Sphere shows with what Trey did for the past year, trying just to get it as perfect as he could possibly do. No bands do that. Dead and Company's playing 21 shows and they just threw it together. It's not something that they invested their time in, and it feels like the bands are more dedicated to our community like that. I mean,
and the fans respond, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, to get into the Sphere wasn't easy. To get a ticket to the Sphere was not easy. But if you don't have that many shows to go to, too, it's a little bit more of an exclusive thing. But the reason it is because they didn't want to have all these shows and just have them be so. And other bands that have done that, U2 did 30 some shows, same show every single night, except for a couple songs here and there. It's not the same reaction. I talked to a girl at the Sphere and she's like, no, this is way different. What you choose was more like a Vegas show. It didn't feel personal. This is a whole different experience. So I think that what the bands put into it too comes through, which is what we feel and why we feel more connected to them. Even though we don't know them personally, we know what they're doing for us and we take it.
And that's what I was challenging. I totally agree with you,
and
Nikki.
I see that now.
Yeah, the improv, that excitement, which means that the band is thinking and feeling and doing, and there's a reciprocal energy that's flowing through
what they're doing
single show, right?
Absolutely.
When I first started getting into Goose, a word that I used to, like when I first started realizing, because Goose was my first jam band, so I had never experienced this before, but I had been talking about how intentional they were about it. And that's the word that I always go back to is like the intentionality of what they're doing. They know what they're doing, but they want us to give it back to them. And it's very intentional how they're doing it. The community, the effervescence, right? It's all very intentional in the jam scene, I think.
I know a bunch of Swifties who would challenge you on that she's very intentional and everything is for her fans. But I do agree on it's way too big.
The scale, it's harder to get something like that to be more personal and feel it like they do.
It's not reciprocal. It's not reciprocal. It's not that cycle. Yeah. And, I really feel like in Goose, like they deserve they deserve to get to be creative, right? It's their
Yeah.
art and it's their performance and they get to do it. It's like, it doesn't matter what we want. And really anyone can complain about what song they played, or it could have been
And we
done this
do.
way, or it's 10 minutes short or 10 minutes late, or that was the best because, but really it's like that's their art, that's their performance that night. And I think it's so cool that they have that, you know, even as a manager, I don't know anything about the music business beyond just observing, but it's so much different to produce a Taylor Swift show where it's like, or that U2 show at the Sphere, where it's like A to Z every night,
Yep.
the same thing where they, you know, and you can mess up too, which is so much more human. So, and I don't mean in a huge way, I mean like a note wrong or something that's different, or, you know, they rip chord something or they play something extra long. I love that they can take that creative, you know, lead for themselves and for whoever's on any given night, no matter what. Yeah.
They do that often, and that's what I think feeds us more, is not knowing what we're getting into.
Well,
We know it's going to be good. I mean,
that's why we keep coming back.
that's why we want to see what's going to happen. And
how many surprises in life are like always good, right?
Yeah.
not a whole lot.
Yeah.
I can
the
count on one
unknown.
hand how many are good.
But we live with like stress usually comes from sort of fear of the unknown, if you think about it, right? Because we like to plan, and it's like you go into that show and it's like, you know, no matter what happens, right? They come on stage, you know, no matter what happens, it's going to be great.
Right on.
It's a pretty big gift.
It sure is. That's how we look at our community, and why I think we felt we needed to do something within it.
Yeah.
The whole thing's a gift, and who knows how long it's going to be around. So let's celebrate it as much as we can.
Yeah.
And why we get wonderful people like you on
Yeah.
our show.
And the people who do it with us.
Mhm.
Better together. That's that thing.
Exactly.
Anything that
Yeah.
brings us together is going to serve us well.
So you've touched on it a little bit, but I'm really curious about like what your interactions with the community have been, both good and bad, because I think we've seen a lot of bad, mainly online. Usually it shows it's pretty positive. Granted, you know, fish shows can get kind of wild, but I'm really interested in like how like you've been embraced by the community and like what your interactions have been, and if anything stood out.
Well, so first of all, just to address the social media thing, because people give social media such a bad rap and it's toxic and they're leaving and they're doing this. And I really believe that it's a I mean, it exists. It's here. So you can criticize it. We can do whatever we want with it, but it's all how we use it. So there's also shitty food in every single store. There's, you know, you can go to the gym and there can be awful people there who are toxic. We get to make choices. We have so many more choices than we believe. So following the people and interacting with the people that you want and creating your own experience, I think is really important on social media. I used Twitter through business for a long time. It's part of what I would do in marketing. And I left. Only because other platforms became more popular through my work. I never left, like abandoned it, but it just wasn't something I was on every day. And then when Ryan went back on, he was a food reviewer. I don't know if you know that, but he was a food journalist and a restaurant reviewer for 10 years, from the time he was 8 till he was 18.
I think I remember seeing that now that you say that.
So I went on because he would be on Twitter talking about hummus. And in the same way he would break down a song, he could break down hummus. He still can. But yeah, he's amazing.
That I know.
Consistent.
Hummus is really important to me. I used to live in Israel. I'm so picky.
Right. So there you go. So you can have a conversation with that about, you know, about hummus with him. No problem. But so I went back on, and when he started doing this music stuff and podcasting, it was during lockdowns. He was in university, and it was like, oh, I can see what Ryan's doing based on Twitter. So I went back on as a mom, you know, I started paying attention, and I couldn't believe like how actually, yeah, there's toxic people. There's toxic people everywhere. It's not a Twitter problem. It's a like global humanity problem.
It's a humanity problem. I was just going to say
Like
that.
you get to choose who to interact with. So block them or don't follow them or make your choices. So I respect everybody's choices, but I actually find the community is what made me have conversations with Ryan about why are you not doing this full time? If it brings you this much joy and you can interact, and Ryan is no stranger to being hated, in many ways, whether that's from a keyboard warrior or somebody straight out for who he is or what he says, but you know what? I love my kid that he just shows up as he is. He's the best heart in the entire world. So if someone's gonna hate him for that, oh well. I think that's too bad. But we all have our own opinions. So I find the community amazing. I had started my business in 1994. So 20 years later, 25 years later, 27 years later, coming back into social media as Ryan's mom, I was like, wow, people are so nice. They're also funny. They're also mean. They're whatever. But it was a totally different experience for me, not being just Lisa Borden, who runs Borden Communications and has, does this business consulting. It was all of a sudden I was like Ryan's mom, and my husband was like, because called Ryan, young Ryan, and he was all of a sudden old Ryan. And we both find it funny, right? Like we both find it awesome. And I don't know a parent who wouldn't be happy to see their child happy. I mean, that's the ultimate gift. So thank you to you guys, and that whole community, the entire goose community and fish community, who do bring people together and don't look at him as just a 23-year-old kid, right? I know I'm in communities where I'm friends with people in their 20s and in their 70s and 80s, and we all learn together and from each other. And the music industry has that as well. I think that's part of the magic.
Absolutely. Yeah. He was one of the first people I followed on Twitter, quote unquote, fish Twitter, in like 2019, 2020. And I was like, what is this YR? Who's YR? And then I realized that he was 20 at the time. He wasn't even 21 at the time. I'm like, how is this kid that's 20 know all this about jam bands? He knows more than I do. And I've been going to shows since I was 19. And he's got a presence and a grace about him online. He knows a lot. I'm not going to say he doesn't jam-splain things to people, because he can.
He does.
He can. But it was in a very mature way, and it kind of blew me away. I was like, this kid knows his crap. Oh my gosh, this is awesome. So I was like, I need to know what he's saying. And it was that confidence that he knows how to speak about it, which he's probably learned from his parents. And it was very impressive from the get-go. So influence on kids from that to the internet it comes through. And that's a big part of having a good family to come from and knowing how to handle yourself. So you did some good.
We all raise each other. I think we all raise each other.
That's very true.
I don't even think, I spoke about the community online, which I think is actually impressive because I run a community online myself. And I think like, wow. Yeah. And wow, the jam band community is really invested. Like so many people have jobs and they're showing up and talking about things. And I'm really impressed by it. And then as a mom going to the show, the reason why my daughter doesn't like shows is because we went to 2 nights of Fish at Wrigley in Chicago after that Taylor Swift. It was a home and away. It was like Ryan went to Taylor Swift and Joey was coming with us to Fish. And I'm along for the ride with the snacks. And people kept coming up to my husband and I at the show with 3 kids, right? There are 3 kids, and they kept coming up and were like so wasted. And they're like, you've inspired us. Like, we're going home tonight. We're going to try and have kids tonight because we're watching you and you guys are amazing. And I kept saying to my husband, this is a problem. It was like, this is not a compliment. This is a problem. Although I have to say, I've really never felt better as a mom at a Fish show, because I'm being like, you're the coolest mom. You're the coolest mom for bringing your kids to a show. And I kept thinking, if I'm being praised this much, for sure I'm doing something wrong. Like, for sure I'm doing something wrong. And my youngest, who's 7 years younger than Ryan, is like, you know, he's on the outside and some guy's leaning over and saying, like, do you want a piece of chocolate? And I'm like, no, you never eat something from a stranger, but for sure not at a fish show. Exactly. So, you know, you talk about community, there's like, the world's crazy anywhere you are. I think it's friendlier and kinder at a fish show. There is that happy energy, and it's dangerous when you, I mean, not that anything is safe. And I don't look back on my husband saying it's okay to leave a kid at their seat. I'm not condoning that, but it's like, it's really lovely. Like, people, what other shows are you speaking to all the people around you?
Yeah. None.
Pretty cool. It's
None.
pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
And you really don't have to worry about people. Like, I've really never seen a fist fight at any jam band show that I can think of. Maybe in the parking lot once at a Dead show, but that's because the guy was selling bunk drugs of some sort and people jammed, you know, like they ganged up on him. But that was it. You don't see people get angry and mean and throw fists or scream at each other. You really don't see people mad at all. You see people happy, like
Or if they
happy.
have, there's enough people around that all sort of make it all work out.
It's always a good experience for the most part. And I do remember having that same feeling when people were coming up to you with your kids when I went to some shows at Alpine when I was in college and being like, I'm going to do that one day. That's going to be me. I'm going to be the drunk dancing mom, and dad's going to be wrangling the kids on the blanket, and we're going to be that family. So that is an inspiring thing. And as much as you think it's a bad thing, no, it's definitely, it's bringing more good people into the world that are looking through lens of our jam community. So it's definitely a compliment.
So let's pivot now, a little bit away from the music and family and more into the wellness space. Talked about wellness intelligence. Can you explain what that means to you?
Wow. Oh, to be succinct with where, you know, giving context to that. So wellness didn't follow me necessarily my whole career. You know, you brought up 30 years, and I think we're all sort of hardwired to care about our wellness. And unfortunately, we tend to care about it more when something comes up that's wrong. So we're told, like, you have to fix something, or this happens, so you have to stop drinking, or this happens, so you have to start meditating, or you have to, right? We wait for some kind of chaos or catastrophe or life event, positive or negative, to change our path. Wellness intelligence is actually different than that. It was, I work with entrepreneurs, generally speaking, to help them build their businesses. That's what I was doing since 1994. And the journey is a little bit interesting because it's actually my daughter that got me fully immersed into wellness, because that was our huge wake-up call. I think maybe I'll go back. When I had Ryan, he was my first kid. And if you've had kids, or anyone that's listening that's had kids, I think as much as you want to take care of yourself, there's nothing that matters more than taking care of a kid. No, nothing. Like, you have this new, hopefully perfect seeming baby that's your baby. And all you want to do is protect them. And all you want to do is love them. So you'll do so much for them. And it's amazing what you will neglect in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
As a mother, as a father, that's a different journey. And it's the same thing if you're an entrepreneur for a business. I mean, it's not the same thing, but it's the same concept of, you are creating this business. So just, you're talking about, I wish I could do this full time. If you did, and you started this as a full-time business, and it's feeding you, right? And it's taking care of you, and you're taking care of it. You've raised it like a baby. So you have this business. So meet a purpose-driven entrepreneur. They have the same energy as a mama, like that mama parenting energy. And you neglect yourself, and you don't do it to neglect yourself, but you do it because you do it because you're so committed to something else, or to somebody else. And as I was working both as a mom, as a caring mom, trying to raise kids in this crazy world, and trying to support entrepreneurs, trying to do things that are purpose-driven in the wellness space, which is usually also going against the grain a little bit, that requires education and explanation. So it's not like, here's a chocolate bar, it's $1. It's a really good chocolate bar. It's, here's a chocolate bar that's functional chocolate, that doesn't have the shit in it, that has good ingredients, but it's $2. You need education. The person who's making that chocolate bar is like a mom, like a parent, and they neglect themselves. So they would be running a marathon in the morning, so they'd be so strong physically, or they'd be meditating all the time because they believed in meditation, or they'd have a really clean diet and be all about food, or they'd be environmentalists and be cleaning up garbage on a beach every day, saving the turtles, and everyone had their thing. But what happens if we connect all the dots together? That's wellness intelligence, is where you aren't just an environmentalist, or you aren't just about the food and the chocolate bar. You aren't just about parenting your kid. You're bringing it all to make sure that all those dots are connected, because it doesn't matter how active you are. You can't outrun, do you know what I mean? The body you want, or the brain you want, or the sleep you want. It's not all dependent on that. So it's about coming back to yourself. And wellness intelligence is about that awareness of ourselves, connecting to our nervous systems, connecting to each other in a positive way. And it's different for everybody. It's not I sell, quote unquote, sell wellness intelligence. It's not like, here, pay me $2,000 and here's wellness intelligence or your path. It's, I have a community because I show up in service, because I found this is a need. If you show up, it's free. There's no cost. But the hardest thing that we do is choose to show up, because we're busy. We're distracted. We're trying to sell that chocolate bar. We're trying to raise our kids. We're trying to go to 42 goose shows, whatever it happens to be. And what I'm here to do on a daily basis now is to help people show up for themselves so they can do all of those things with more focus, more concentration, more love, less fear, less hate, less self-abandonment, without any of the bullshit. It's different for everybody. And that's what wellness intelligence is. That's my sort of long, curvy answer. Sorry.
Don't be sorry. I'm making faces because I identify with this very much so. Starting last August, I started an MBA program part-time, on top of working full-time in a client-facing role, on top of starting a podcast, on top of having a personal life. And
Boyfriend.
yeah, I have not been taking care of myself, and thankfully Kara and Nikki have been very kind and given me grace with the podcast specifically, because it has been so difficult to figure out how to balance. And I forget, like, oh wait, it's 5 p.m. and I haven't had anything but a cup of coffee today. When was the last time I went to the gym? When was the last time I went outside? Have I talked to my friends today? Oh my God, my to-do list is growing and growing and growing. And it's really hard to maintain that balance and remember that, like, if I am not my best self, I can't show up and pass my exams or stay up editing a podcast or going to goose shows.
So my work is about adding it in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a concept from a guy named James Clear in a book called Atomic Habits, but it's about stacking. It's just about stacking habits into your day. And so that's what I learned to do, because again, I teach it. I always say, trust me, I'm running a business. I've never taken a day maternity leave. I've had 3 kids, and I work full time. The community that I run is no charge. And it's my work in service, and it's what I want to do. And I realized, I saw it in myself as well. I was like, I'm happy working 18 hours a day. So that's also like lots of people.
I'm not.
But I'm saying, not working for someone else. I'm saying, if you're working and you're creative, you could probably do the podcast for 18 hours a day. I'm saying I could be creative and be seeing clients, and it's all in wellness and it's great. And then it's like, no, you got to take care of yourself if you want the luxury of showing up. And so, that's creative. That goes for musicians. I always say that I watch how hard they work, right? We see them on stage and we have an expectation from them, but all of what they're doing, all of the band, what they're doing around the music is a lot, and the physical aspect of it. So they're treated as performers. They're not treated as athletes. And really, I think, if I had my way with it, I would be working with all musicians on nervous system and stacking habits during the day to make sure that, as a community, we're taking care of them. And that I think management should be taking care of musicians as athletes, not performers. That's just my take, right? So
It is an athletic feat. Absolutely. That's a perfect way to put it.
Can you explain what stacking habits means?
Okay, so we all do certain things. So when you leave the house, you leave with your wallet because you know that if you don't take your wallet, you can't buy anything. So it's rare that we forget our wallet at home. And today's age, how many times has anybody listening to this left their home without their phone?
No.
Right? So if I said to you, okay, you have to take water with you when you leave, how many days is it going to take you to figure out how to take that water? Because if you say, I'm not going to buy bottled water, I'm not going to spend my money on water being out, and you give yourself grace, right? You're going to forget it because it's a new habit. But eventually, you're not going to leave the house without water. And during the day, you could say the same thing. You brush your teeth when you get up. How many times do you forget to brush your teeth? No. So what can you stack onto when I'm brushing my teeth? I can balance on one foot. Well, I'm practicing balance. I'm supporting my core. It doesn't need to be something big. Or it's one of my favorite stacking that's worked for me, because you bring it up too, is I could sit down here. This is my office. I've been down here in my basement of my home for 22 years in this office. And I would come downstairs in the morning after getting the kids to school, and I could sit here all day until I had to make it, like I wouldn't move, which meant I didn't have time to eat or drink.
Yep.
Everything goes on hydration. Hydration and breath are sort of the two things that I work with people on first. Any entrepreneur, it's like you can't run a business if you're not getting these things. So I drink a lot of water, activated water, and then you have to go to the bathroom. You don't have a choice. If you're only drinking coffee, you can avoid going to the bathroom too. But if you hydrate, so I stack what I call an exercise snack, which is one of my programs, onto going to the bathroom. What does that mean? I go to the bathroom, and the journey from the bathroom back to my desk or to wherever I'm going, I do an exercise snack. That means that I do one movement pattern. So sometimes I'll crawl back to my desk because it gets you onto a different plane. Sometimes I will do jumping jacks. Sometimes I will do walking lunges. Sometimes I will just stretch in the door frame and close my eyes and breathe for 8 seconds. Sometimes I take 10 minutes and I do Qigong. So it depends on my mood at the moment, but it's a non-negotiable. There is an exercise snack, even if it's crawling quickly, right? It could be like 3 push-ups. Sometimes I do just squatting into my chair, and I get up 4 times because I don't really have much time before a next meeting. So stacking habits works so well. It really works. You just have to, what works for me might not work for you, right? If you work in an office, you might be like, I'm not crawling from the bathroom back to my desk. That's disgusting. But there's always something.
For a very alternative company, that would actually probably fly at my office.
Yeah. And then you can explain to them what atomic habits are.
Exactly.
Stacking habits.
Exactly.
Like, this is what happened. This is what I just did. We should all do this now.
Exercise snacking is something that I teach to individuals, to kids, and also to corporate groups, because it really works. Because the studies that are out also show that intermittent movement is actually healthier than running a marathon in the morning and then sitting down at the desk all day. So intermittent movement keeps, we have 3 brains, right? But it keeps everything flowing. We need to keep everything flowing. That's for optimal performance. So if you are doing as many things as we're all doing in a day, imagine if stacking those small habits, teeny habits that don't really compromise. You don't need gym clothes. You don't need to go to the gym. You don't need a membership. You can do it while the water's boiling on the stove. You're making pasta, right? Instead of sitting on your phone.
Dinner.
Stack it into your day.
So what I do in the community that I run is every other Tuesday, I introduce one new exercise snack, and the other Tuesdays, I introduce a self-care snack. And so do it slowly, so you get one a week. So even if you fall off the train, as long as you're paying attention, You're going to get a new one, practice it for 7 days or 14 days, and it becomes part of your toolbox that you know. And I teach many of them, but I also bring in people in all different aspects of movement and specialties. So like HIIT trainers, but also people who teach Kundalini and Qigong. So whether you're very active or not active, it also introduces you to all different variety. We know that we want to eat wellness intelligence, right? We know that we're supposed to eat variety. Like it's not good to eat chicken fingers, fries every single meal, but it doesn't mean chicken fingers and fries have to be bad. It doesn't mean that anything needs to be vilified, but you need variety. And it's the same with movement. If you're going to the same yoga class with the same teacher, it's not that that teacher's bad or that that class isn't good enough, but throw variety in. And it goes back to music. If you want to link that you go to 10 Taylor Swift shows in the same tour, you're seeing the same show. You go to 10 Gushas, you're getting that variety. So there's that excitement, that nourishment, right?
Right
It all
on.
makes sense to me.
Yep.
I love that.
Absolutely.
So how did you instill like this mindset and wellness and even just stacking habits like with your family? Do you think that they follow the same mindset?
Just made a wonderful face, by the way,
I'm
baby.
so, yeah, my face. It's like, my kids and my husband are my like toughest clients. So I know that I know I can be successful with something when I get all of their buy-in, which is really rare. But there's certain things, certain things I just have to be like a crazy bitchy mom and like, I don't know, withhold food or something. And then I do it. No,
Withhold music.
it's this
No
thing.
more
Yeah,
jam music for you. No more
exactly.
Swift.
That's it. Exactly. I've unplugged the Sonos through the house and turned off the Wi-Fi. There's no more nugs coming in. So it's just, it goes to everything's different for everybody. My kids all adapt very different aspects of what I'm doing, which is a lot. It's my business and my life. So I love it. But bringing it into my home, what happens in our home is very different than what happens when they leave home. So if one of the things that I learned on tour with Ryan was I'm a morning person. It doesn't really matter what happened at night. I'm awake. And that might drive Ryan crazy or not. You guys will never know. No, but it was part of the deal was if we're in Montana and we're in Oregon, like we're getting up and we're walking, I want to do the hikes. I want to see the forest. I need to be in nature. I need to ground. Otherwise I cannot go into another concert tonight. Like that's not going to fly. And so that was our thing. And Ryan did even say to me on our trip how much better he felt like waking up, going into nature, going for that walk, hydrating, eating something well. And then I didn't care the rest of the day, like go back and nap. But if you throw your circadian rhythm off, you feel like shit. And if you don't, so sometimes to put things into play, you need to experience them for yourself. It doesn't matter how great somebody can pitch something. When you experience it, so if you get sick eating you eat an apple and you don't feel well, I'm never going to eat an apple again. And then you see an apple and you're like, oh, I want that apple. So you eat it again, you feel sick again. How many times? Maybe care for you. Maybe it's going to take you 6 times. Maybe it's going to take me 12. But eventually we're going to learn. And when we learn a lesson for ourselves, it's like a no-brainer. You're no longer like restricted. You're no longer abiding by somebody else telling you not to eat apples. You've made the decision for yourself. So, when we were driving, Ryan and I were driving, I was like, every hour we'd stop and do an exercise snack. We'd run and change driver to passenger. I'd make him, he's like, this is ridiculous. But then it was just, then you realize like, oh, my hips feel really good. I don't have any back pain. We're driving. It's like squatting on the side of the highway. Whatever, works.
Love that.
I'm a bit crazy. It's okay.
It's okay.
You have to be a mom.
Yeah.
I think that's required. But that's great advice because working those little things in is a lot easier than saying, okay, from now on, you're not going to have any dairy forever and ever. Amen. And that's an overwhelming task for somebody. So when you break it down, okay, maybe we're just not going to have cheddar cheese or not going to have milk or something simple. It makes it a little bit easier to handle. And especially with children.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing. And introducing those habits like as a stacking process is fantastic. Fantastic. I love that idea. And I've done it myself without even really realizing that's what I was doing. I mean,
Of course.
as you get older, you kind of have to do that with a lot of things.
I even use with many very competent, wise, much smarter than me, much more able, crazy accomplished people. I use tracking sheets that you like put an X in to stack the habit. It really works. So I supply all whatever tools needed. There you go.
I stopped doing it because I got too busy, but I made habit trackers in my journal of like, did I have enough water today? Did I stretch today? And that's when I was really on top of it. And I need to get back.
You know what you're missing? It's an accountability partner. That's why I started this community. And that's why it's because there's always a built-in accountability partner.
Can you explain this community? You have an app, the Wellness Intelligence Collective. I've spent a little bit of time going through it, but I'd really like to hear from you to everyone else what this is and why it's important and what the goals are here.
So I started my business in 1994, and along the way, I started the Wellness Intelligence Collective in 2021. It's not a different business. It's just an extension of my business. We were all in lockdown. People were separate. I had one website that was called the Borden Big List, which was people would always call me and say, like, where do I get cereal that's gluten-free, that's good? Or what kind of paint can I buy for my baby's nursery? Or where do I get that supplement that does X? Or do you know someone that it was always question after question after question. And so I decided when I'm asked a question a second and third time, I'm just going to create a list. So I had that. I had all these different websites that I'd started based on, Nikki brought up, like, we have to be solutions focused. That's my business. So I'm always solutions focused, and I will always want to help people. And I noticed in both all of my clients had this deficiency in some dimension of wellness. And then I was like, oh, don't be so judgy, Lisa. You're deficient like all of them. And so I decided to start working on that. And as I worked on that, I realized I have the most incredible roster of clients and colleagues and past clients. And how do I get us all to speak, right? There's like a lack of connection. Mm-hmm. And so I created this community when we were in lockdown thinking, this is just going to be my work and service. I'm going to create this, and I'm going to put all my clients and anyone who wants to be there, and then I can connect dots, and I'm going to whatever. And it's sort of taken over my life. I opened it in 2021 to give everybody access to the wellness programs that they want and need at no charge. I have a model called PYOV, which is called pay your own value, that I say, if you have the means and you can contribute, please contribute, because that will just allow me to contribute to the next person. I do over 50% of my work pro bono, and I love doing that. So it's open to everyone, and the pay your own value is it's not a GoFundMe. It's not something that I ask all the time. It's just something that's there if you want, with no obligation and no guilt. And built in, there's accountability partners. So if you want one, there's people for you. I'm many people's as it moves forward, but I have different programs every single day of the week. There's a different aspect that goes on. So you would know a lot of the things that are in there too.
For those listening, how do they find you?
The wellnessintelligencecollective.com. And you just have to request to join. There's 2 packages. The red one is what I call, and it just says access or free. There's no charge. And they just have to basically validate that they're human. That's it. And it's like registering for a trade show. I expect people to just put their face on, or whatever they use. It doesn't need to be their face, but just to fill out their profile, because I work really hard every day to make sure that the environment inside is not polluted, that everybody is real. There's no Autobots. If people don't fill out their badges, their name badges, as I call them, I just remove them. And it's over 3 years, and we have never, not once have I had to actually remove somebody from the network for saying anything. And I host and I moderate that on purpose because I want people to feel safe, even though it's an online environment. And I always say it's healthy to scroll. It's a place that's truly healthy to scroll. No one's asking you for anything. There's no ads. There's no upsells. There's no algorithms. Everything that I do goes through these sort of filters, my own filters, which are, I call empathy economics, which is trace everything back to where it comes from. And if you feel good about it, enjoy it. What I feel good about and what you feel good about are different. And that's okay. I'm not telling you that this product is the best. I'm saying this product is best for me, and here's why. And so that's what you'll find in the community, which is not just a list of products. I write one up every Wednesday and I'll say, this is a cracker. Like, this is why. Here are the people behind the cracker. This is where the ingredients come from. I show the ingredient panel. And so you get a lesson as well as the product on Wednesdays. And on Mondays, I teach what I call a lesson in empathy economics, which is not all maple syrup is created equal. Not all honey is created equal. Not all concerts are created equal. Whatever it happens to be, I'm not selling anything, and they're short. They're not, most like today I shared not all coffee is created equal. I've done weed, I've done alcohol. It's not preachy. It's if you are consuming these things, if you are buying t-shirts, you might as well understand where it comes from and buy the best that you can. And it doesn't always cost more money. It just takes more questions and finding the kinder stuff. So Mondays are these lessons, and Tuesdays is an exercise snack or a self-care snack. Wednesdays is a product. And Thursday, I interview somebody in writing. I've been doing that for long before podcasts and everybody interviewed people. I used to call them interviews with mosquitoes, and it was actually because people don't like talking about themselves. The best people don't like talking about themselves, but you don't mind being interviewed. And so I would interview them to help them write their About Me pages for their websites. And the stuff that came back was like, this is so good. Can we share it? So I would share it. And so I do one of those every Thursday.
That's awesome.
So,
Love that.
Amazing.
One of the Goose members has done an interview. So has Ryan.
So you should all get on the app.
Exactly.
So I do have two more quick questions. Well, we'll see if they're quick, but we'll wrap it up. First one is, how do you stay sane? What do you do for yourself?
That I was saying.
Maybe not.
Yeah, we spoke about assumptions and judgment. It's like
You're a lot of people's accountability partner, and you take on so many things within your communities and manage your communities and content moderate. How do you make sure that you stay, it doesn't have to be sane, but clear or motivated, happy in your own life?
So, yeah, I mean, I don't need help being motivated. I don't drink caffeine. I don't eat sugar. I have more energy than you can imagine.
I don't identify with that.
Yeah, many don't. It's like, as I said, I don't vilify it. It's not something that I choose to use, but I think I've learned to stay saner. I would like to say that because I think many messy moments. I think we all have many messy moments, and admitting that we do rather than calling ourselves sane, I think is actually a really healthy thing. I think we all need permission to fall apart and know that we're safe. And I think it's a mindset shift. It's about working with my breath. It's about being open-minded to learning new things and staying curious about everything, and treating the relationships in my life as if the same way I treat food, which is to curate them very carefully and who has access to my energy. And that's a journey. It's a journey that I'm on to. And so I embody my own work. So everything that comes out in the Wellness Intelligence Collective are things that I practice, not every day. So I say to people, I've done 150 exercise snacks. I don't do them all every day. That variety and that flow is what keeps me sane. My kids, my husband, I'm fortunate to have an amazing supportive family that's okay when I'm sane and when I'm not sane. Spend time in nature and be curious and be kind. Like, it's so much easier to be nice.
I agree with that for sure.
Right on.
All right, my last question. What's the next show you're going to?
Colorado in a few weeks.
Okay, I'll be there.
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing. And to the cacao ceremony before with Kate and Hannah.
What is that?
Conscious Together. Do you know them?
No, I haven't heard.
Oh, you need to interview them. They're so great. I've interviewed them in the Wellness Intelligence Collective. If you look them up, Kate is Kait, and they do cacao ceremonies before a lot of goose shows.
Yeah, Ryan went to one before Goosemas, right? And I was like, what is this and how do I get involved?
Yeah.
I didn't know it was
signed him up
happening
for,
again.
I signed him up for that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looked so much fun. I was like, that looks so cool. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
So
Yeah.
I'm proudly to that show. I'm bringing 2 friends of my own accord who have never been to a goose show. It's the first
Okay.
time I've done that.
Ooh,
So
Yeah,
fun.
it's gonna be
that's
so
a
much.
big thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah, that's fun.
I get points for that somehow.
You
And
get to see their
and-
faces when they figure out why you go to these. So that's the best. That's the
Exactly.
best feeling.
That's actually why they're coming.
Yeah. Yeah, that is when you introduce somebody just to fish or goose or something, that's got to be the biggest joy is like them being like, "Oh my gosh, I need more." And you're like,
Or
watch
this is hilarious. There's also that reaction.
yes.
people
That's-
watching.
Yeah. What is wrong with you people? I do remain in that camp a little bit.
All right, well, I think that's about it for today. Thank you so much for coming on. This
having
conversation
me.
was amazing and fascinating and insightful. And it was so nice to get to know you a little bit more, not just Ryan's mom,
Yeah.
but
I
Lisa
like that though. I'm good with being Ryan's mom too. It's cool. It's a cool.
Thank you for
title.
making time with us and spending so much time with us. We really appreciate that. It's been fantastic.
Thank you for
Yeah.
what you guys are doing. I think it's always amazing to animate and activate community around anything that's positive. And I think it's great that you guys are committed to doing that. It's
We
amazing.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much. This pod is made by women for everyone. We wouldn't be here without you, and we want to hear from you all. Please go to our website, Guest Fill and Forum, DM us on Twitter or Instagram, and let us know what you're up to. We're planning segments to cover it all. Are you starting a new fashion line? Volunteering with a community? Did something in the jam scene change your life? Come tell us about it. We would be doing our job if we didn't ask you to follow us on all the socials and rate us on your favorite podcast app. Next month, we'll be back for Pride. Talk to y'all soon.